The country is being described as the land of 1,000 hills and is endowed with beautiful scenery. However, despite these beautiful images, Rwanda is still in a process of rebuilding and reconciliation after the 1994 genocide. Today, we visited the University of Rwanda, where the students are invited to watch a play that tells the story of how some media participated in spreading the messages of hate that led to the killings of many Tutsis and moderate Hutus. There are still fears that history will repeat itself, as those who fled the country after the genocide are reportedly continuing to mobilize in other countries.
How great or how big should we right now encouraging people in building our country, spreading love all over the world instead of those kinds of hate?
The war that was fought in 1994 was a war of blood, but the war that we're fighting right now is a war of denial. We have so many people who are denying what happened. We have so many, whether they're in the country or outside the country. So what I would like to say is, let's use this opportunity of social medias and radios, televisions to create awareness of the truth.
For me, some things or topics can be debatable, but hate speech is the red line. And it was important then for me to bring it here symbolically.
The commemoration is to remember and to prevent against genocide. And this year and every year, now we have the theme of this year. The commemoration is remember, unite, and renew.
Following the genocide, the international community faced vocal criticism for its failure to intervene and stop the killing. Kagame, who was part of the RPF forces that eventually stopped the attacks, says this is a stark reminder of failure to act in time.
There is very little learning in our world, in the world we live in. And that's why you find crises happening everywhere after crisis. If we learned the lessons and applied the lessons, I think we would have less problems. Like in our case, the Eastern Congo problem has been there, has been related to problems we had here in Rwanda in some way. Then other things are specific to Congo. So then there is a mixture of Rwandan problems, Congolese problems, and when they mix up and you don't approach it correctly, you tend to have a permanent situation like this.
Responding to a question on his stay in power, Kagame says the issue of succession is being discussed by his party.
I had the opportunity to discuss it with my members of the party, that it is an inevitability that we have to find, first of all, grow leaders, and not for me to decide who is going to be the next leader after me. I think that also is not necessarily correct, but to create an environment, circumstances that will give rise to people who can lead, irrespective of whether I like them or not. Because I think you brought it up referring to democracy. You're talking about governance. You're talking about good governance. In good governance, I don't think you want everyone exiting to be the one to decide who comes after them. So let's put that aside. But the situation is being looked at, has been looked at, in fact, since 2010.
His Kenyan counterpart, William Ruto, who was on a state visit ahead of the genocide commemoration, had this to say.
I want to tell you that from our own experience in Kenya, trying to get a successor can be a very disastrous project. Because it may not be the person the people want. So I think that's an area that requires much more than identifying somebody and saying, telling the population this is the person. What President Kagame has done from where I sit is commendable.
Sophie Mokoena, SABC News, Kigali, Rwanda.